Hi friends, welcome to this video. This lighting is weird. At least you get a good view of my cat. We are going to be doing this week, or for the next couple weeks, I guess, however long it takes me to read these books. I'm going to read the lowest rated books on my TBR according to Goodreads. So I went through and looked up all the books that are on my physical TBR to see what the lowest rated ones were. And we're going to read the 3 lowest rated ones. Now, obviously, I have some books that are parts of series, and so I only looked up the first book in the series, or let's say I have books like 3 to 6 to read. I looked up book 3, so the earliest one in the series that I have yet to read. So, the lowest rated book that I have at 3.65 stars is Thunder, which is probably not a book that you've heard of because I don't think it's ever really got popular. I'm going to be honest, this book was given to me when I was still in college and I graduated 5 years ago. So it's been on my TBR for a hot minute. So honestly, it's a good excuse to finally read this book. The next lowest rated book was The Atlas Paradox, which makes me happy but sad. I'm happy that I get to read it quickly, but sad that it was rated not great. It's rated at a 3.73, so it's not a horrible rating, but it's not great, but I am glad that I get to read it sooner than later. I did enjoy the first book. I think I gave it like a 3, maybe 3.5 stars. It was good, but I felt like there was room for improvement. So I was hoping that this would improve on that and include more characters and give a little more depth to those characters, but we'll see. The next book is actually Destroy Me, which is the second book in the Shatter Me series. It's actually a novella, but again, like I was saying, I was just going in order. I actually finished the Shatter Me series the Shatter Me book this morning, and I gave it 3 stars. I think it's okay, and if I had read it in like middle school, maybe high school, I would think I would have enjoyed it more. There is a romance that kind of happens in this book, and it just doesn't feel real. And like, obviously it's a book and it's like kind of dystopian fantasy, but like this boy has sort of known this girl. They've never really talked. He's just kind of like seen her in the distance. And then they're like reunited, and now he's like madly in love with her and she's in love with him because she had also sort of noticed him. And like, it just feels so fake. I don't even know how to describe it. The inner monologue of this character does feel real because you have to think this character is, I think, like young teenager. So the way that she's writing, while it might be sometimes a little bit annoying and melodramatic, I feel like at this age I probably was like that too. So I can get over that. I felt like it was a mediocre book. Like, it wasn't amazing like some people have said, but it did fly by really quickly, so I am going to continue with the series. But the next book, the novella, was rated at 4.8 stars, which isn't bad by any means. So I have the novella actually in the back of this book. It's like the last 100 pages or something is this. So I'm just gonna read it here. I think otherwise, I don't know if they sell it actually like as a book or if you have to get it as an ebook like on Kindle or something. So we'll see for the rest of the series, but those are the books that I will be reading in the near future. I very, very briefly started the Atlas Paradox. I got it as an audiobook, so I'll be listening to this as an audiobook while I read the other 2 physically. If you're interested, the Atlas Paradox, the little blurb on here says, as their final year in residency looms, the remaining society recruits are unmoored. Bargains they thought they understood are not so black and white. Alliances that once held steady begin to crumble. While unlikely and perhaps even dangerous, kinships are forged in their place. The price of power demands that each character choose a side. What else will the society initiates be forced to sacrifice for knowledge? And where or when is Libby Rhodes? So I feel like it'll be interesting. I don't know. We'll see. Also, I listened to the other one as an audiobook. Did the other one have pictures? I just noticed this one has pictures. So I'm intrigued by that. So I'll have to come through here and look at the pictures as I listen to the audiobook, just because now I'm curious. Or I could look at them all now, but I don't know if that would ruin it. Anyway, I'll be listening to this as an audiobook. I think just so that I can continue the series, since I finished Shatter Me this morning, I'll read this novella. It's also short, so it's like a quick win, you know? And then I will move on to Thunder. And I will try to give like little synopses and updates as I read. I'm not going to do a synopsis of all of these books at once. I've already been talking for like 6 minutes at this point, so hopefully editing me has cut this down so you don't have to listen to me talk for so long. Okay, so I'm 50 pages into Destroy Me, which I think is actually about half the book because it's a novella. I am enjoying it. I don't know if I'm enjoying it more than Shatter Me. You get a different perspective. So in Shatter Me, this is about a girl whose touch is lethal. So if she touches somebody, they will die, or they could die if she doesn't like break the connection fast enough. And so she's grown up her whole life not being able to like make skin to skin contact with anybody, which means, you know, she can't really like hug people for the most part. Or like pick up a child, things like that. And she's had some really traumatic experiences because obviously like her parents can't treat her like a normal child, and it kind of sounds like her mother was just like kind of hated her and hated the fact that this was the child that she had, which is really sad. And they get into that a little bit in the first book, but the second book is about a different character. It's about Warner, if you've read the first book, and it's from his perspective. And it's interesting because he is kind of like the bad guy in the first book, but reading from his perspective, you kind of see where it's coming from, and you kind of like get that backstory to understand why he acts the way that he does, and that like his intentions weren't all bad, even though he's still not a great person, but his intentions were different than how they're perceived. So it's interesting. And then he also discovers her like kind of diary, and so you get some excerpts from that to really see how much she's suffering, and it's interesting. I'm enjoying it so far. I don't know if it's, like I said, I don't know if I like it better than Shatter Me. Right now I'm about halfway through, and I'd probably give it like a 3.5, and I gave Shatter Me 3, so we'll see how it goes. I feel like novellas in this series maybe don't carry on the plot a whole lot further, but give you perspective from somebody else's angle and get you to understand that character more. So it does, like, it is interesting. I'm enjoying it, and I'm excited to read more, but I've got to get to work. Okay, update on my reading. I finished Destroy Me, which is at the back of the Shatter Me book. It was 10 less pages than I thought. For some reason, I thought it was 110 pages, not 101. So that just flew by. I finished it this morning, and I don't know how I feel. I do like that we get a different perspective. At first, I don't think I was a fan of it. At first, I was like, why do we have this perspective? Sorry, I'm like trying to sit up more comfortably, and we've got a kitty joining us. But I appreciate that we get Warner's point of view, and that we kind of like start seeing his relationship with his dad and how he actually feels about Juliet. Because I just feel like it gives his character a lot more depth. And I was kind of like, I feel like Juliet has some depth, but then the like main love interest, I guess, I can't remember his name anymore. He feels like he has no depth to me, at least in the first book. So hopefully he just like keeps getting better, and as we get different people's point of views, because I think we get his point of view eventually, maybe I'll like him more. I just feel like in the first book, Shatter Me, it was like, I don't want to say insta love because they knew each other as kids, but like they didn't really seem to ever interact until all of a sudden they did, but they both like secretly had crushes on each other, and like I don't know. I guess that could happen. It just felt really fake to me and kind of forced. But I actually did enjoy this. It is definitely young adult, like young adult. It reads really quickly because of that, but like I was saying, you maybe lack some of the depth, some of the like realisticness, which it is fantasy anyway. It's like fantasy dystopian-ish, so it's not going to be super realistic. That's just, the fact of the matter. But I did enjoy it. I would maybe give it like, I don't know. I gave Shatter Me 3 stars. I would maybe give this like 3.5. So I don't know if a good read. Maybe I'll round up to 4. I have some extra time this morning, so I might actually start the next book, Thunder. We'll see. Even if I do, I probably won't get too far. But yeah, 1 book down. I also have been listening to a decent amount of the Atlas Paradox, so I'll update you with that while we're here. I am enjoying it. So far, I think I'm actually enjoying it more than the first one. The first one, again, I think I gave like 3 stars, and the characters are all just so pretentious, but like I feel like that's to be expected in a setting like this. But some of the characters, again, lacked depth. There's one particular character, Reina, that I didn't see a lot of in the Atlas 6, and I liked her powers and I wanted to see more of her, and I am getting that so far in the second book, so I'm excited about that. And then we have Libby in this like precarious situation, and so I just feel like it's more interesting to me. A lot of times I do actually really like the setup books. So like the first book in a series, usually you spend a lot of time setting up this world or the magic system or whatever. And while I did enjoy that in the first book, it does definitely slow it down, and it's always going to do that, right? But you're also introduced to so many characters that it's hard to feel like you are getting to know all of them well. So in the second book so far, I feel like I'm connecting more with Reina. I still don't really care about Callum, like never did. Tristan, kind of care about him, care about Nico and Parisa. Parisa is an intriguing character. Libby, I do care about, but I've been listening to it as an audiobook, and I listened to the first one as an audiobook as well. And they choose a different narrator for each character, which is helpful because each chapter is set in like a different character's point of view. But her voice actor, it just kind of annoys me because Libby is this like academic girl, but it's just like the way that she talks drives me insane. Like I feel like I can probably relate to her the most in that she's academic, she's anxious, she worries about everything, but just the voice acting almost just feels whiny to me, and I'm not super fond of that. But aside from that, I am enjoying the book so far, and I'm curious to see what it has in store for me. But with that said, I'm going to maybe start another book. And here's another little kitty shot. Okay, I've started Thunder, and I guess I didn't realize the setting. I thought this was going to be like Celtic, like old history setting, or like fantasy Celtic-y vibes, because like on the front of the cover, right, you have this Celtic knot. So I was thinking, we're in like England, Scotland, Ireland, I don't know, somewhere in there. No. I guess the front of the cover kind of shows you, like, if you look, that kind of looks like industrial buildings that have been blown to pieces. And the first few pages, so this is not a spoiler, it says, the time of sorrows had begun with a single spectacular flash in time. 150 years ago and 200 miles to the north, 3 devices called suitcase nukes had destroyed Washington, D.C. So if it's to the north, she's somewhere in the south. Southern United States? I was not expecting that. Anyway, they're like in, what, like Virginia, maybe? Okay, definitely different vibes. So it's more like post-apocalyptic-esque, maybe? I'm interested, but it's usually not the vibe that I go for. Okay, little check-in on Thunder. I'm about 90 pages in, and it is Definitely not what I expected it to be. So like I said, I thought it was going to be like Celtic-y, because like look at this. Like, wouldn't you think from this cover you're going to have like some Celtic influences? No. We are in the South, and there are these people called landers who seem to be able to like have some abilities with their mind. Like they can maybe move things with their mind or heal themselves or something. We haven't quite figured that out yet. I don't know. And then we have these other people that are living in a mountain, and his wife has cancer, and he's trying to extend her life until he can find a cure for this cancer. And it sounds like he's maybe buying the landers and using them as research. I'm not 100% what's going on there yet. We're still like unfolding all of this, but it's just so different than I thought. I thought it was going to be like more of like a fantasy vibe, and like I guess in the sense that you have these people that maybe have some like powers or whatever. Yeah, it's fantasy. But then you have this lab, and they're trying to like find a way to extend the telomerase so that the cells aren't aging as quickly, and blah blah blah. And they like sort of get into the science. It's interesting, but not what I thought it was going to be about. The writing style is like, it's okay. It's not great. There are some points where people say things and I'm like, that doesn't sound like something somebody would say. But like for the most part, like it's okay. And what I mean by that is there's a part where she's like, oh, so you've been physically violent, or someone says, I'm gonna bodily harm you. And it's like, I don't know that somebody would say that. Like, maybe you would say, you know, you're making me so frustrated, I'm going to hurt you. I don't know. Like, would somebody say, I'm going to bodily harm you? It just felt a little bit awkward. But aside from a few little points like that, I am enjoying the book. But I wouldn't say it's one of those books that, you know, you pick up and you can't put back down again. Hey, I just wanted to check in about this book because I feel like it's been a hot minute and I'm almost done with it. And I'm sorry if there's some like noise in the background. I have a heater going because it has been freezing cold here. Like literally yesterday my car was frozen shut. So that was fun. Anyway, I've gotten a lot further. I think I only have like 25-30 pages left of this book, and I am actually really enjoying it. I would say the writing style maybe isn't like the best. I feel like the plot and the story is interesting, but it's not a writing style that makes me read quickly. There are a few sentences where you're reading and you kind of like stumble on them because they feel a little bit clunky. I don't know if that makes sense and if that's just me. But the story itself is interesting. It's about this girl. There might be some few spoilers here, but I'm only going to say things that happen in the first like 50 pages. So it's about this girl, and in this world, it seems kind of like post-apocalyptic, and she's like just a normal person, right? And there are these people called landers, and they don't really know who these people are, but they seem to just kind of randomly arrive on like boats or whatever, and they have markings and symbols on their foreheads. And there's this like big government company. It seems like this company is basically acting as a government and taking control of everything and enforcing the rules on everybody. And they are paying to have landers brought to them. And so some of these landers, the marks disappear after about a day, and some of them they stay. So they'll pay really well for the ones where the marks stay. And so her family is kind of like known for and makes money from capturing these people and taking them to the company, which is in the mountain. And she really wants to be a part of this. She wants to capture these people. And on her 18th birthday, or I think it's the day before her 18th birthday, she's sitting out. She wants to capture a lander. She's gonna have to get married to some dude on her 18th birthday, which like nobody wants that. So she's like, this is my last chance. I'm going to prove myself and capture a lander. And she sort of does. And then she gets into some trouble. She ends up like kind of touching this guy at some point. And then the next morning she wakes up with a mark. And it's not a spoiler. Literally, there's a picture of her with a mark on it. And then you kind of like follow her adventure figuring out who she even is, who this other lander that she touched is, and her like whole family basically was a lie. And she, like, I don't know, it's very interesting. She comes across different characters. She comes across a child and whatnot, and they kind of become friends, and she starts like taking care of her. And it's interesting. There's still definitely a lot of mystery as to like who the Landers are. We've gotten some insight and we can see some of their abilities and stuff, but we still don't really know who they are. So because I'm only 30 pages from the end, I don't think we're going to get a whole lot more on who they are in this book, but I will probably continue this series. Like I said, the writing style isn't like 100% my favorite. I would probably give this like a 3.5. So on Goodreads, I'll give it either a 3 or a 4. I'm not sure yet. We'll see how it ends. But I will probably continue on the series. It is interesting. And it is definitely a little different than some fantasy that I've read. I don't think I've read anything about people being marked and with these abilities, and like, I don't know. It's it has like some sci-fi feel to it because there's labs and people are trying to like use the Lander DNA for stuff, and then there's the Landers, which feel a little more fantasy-esque. So it's definitely interesting and unique. I apologize if there's a lot of background noise. It sounds like it's raining pretty hard outside right now, so you might hear some of that. But I just wanted to check in and I think close this video. I finished this book and I have mixed thoughts on it. I actually really enjoyed it, but like I wouldn't compare it to other fantasy books and say that I would rate it above them. Like it's good. I would give it a solid like 3.5, maybe 3.75 stars. So I gave it 4 on Goodreads. I feel like there's not a lot of character development except our main character. And, you know, our main character is who we care about the most, I guess, but it'd be nice to see a little character development from some of the other characters. But the overall story I thought was interesting, and they leave the story with you still not knowing everything. And I kind of like that not everything's been explained yet, because it makes me want to read the next book. So I'll probably continue the series in the hopes that it just keeps getting better. You know, we'll see. But yeah, interesting story. I recommend picking it up. I would say it has a decent amount of action. There's stuff happening. I didn't like fly through it, but it was still good. Yeah. Anyway, that's it. That's it for this video. If you like this video, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. If there's any like book challenges or anything you'd like to see me do, definitely let me know down in the comments. I'm always looking for new ideas and things, so that would give me some ideas. I will see you guys in the next one. Bye! Hey, I am editing this video now and realize I never actually gave my review of the Atlas Paradox. Sorry, my chair is like spinning on its own. So I figured I would check in now and do that while I'm editing. I do promise I wear clothes other than pajamas, but most of the reading that I've been doing is at like 5 a.m. And so that's when I was doing my check-ins with you guys, which is also why I looked so tired. But that is beside the point. I finished the book as an audiobook, like I said, and for the most part, I really liked the narration. Each character has a different voice, which is great, except Libby's did continue to annoy me. But it's fine. I got used to it, and I actually really enjoyed the book. I do think I liked it better than the first one. To me, I think because I knew about the characters more, being able to get more insight into their background and their history made me connect with them just a little bit more. I especially really like Raina. I know that she's not really seen a ton, but I think she might be my favorite character now. Like the other book, the characters are pretentious, etc. I liked that Libby was not at the school. I don't want to say a whole lot more than that. But her storyline I thought was really interesting. Just what was happening with her, and then she was like kind of away from everybody else. I can't say too much because it would spoil it, but I just kind of liked that there was some aspect outside of the actual school, and you got to see some more like fighting and stuff like that, which I think just made the book a little bit more interesting. I don't think it was a ton better than the Atlas Paradox, but I will continue to read this series. I'm not sure how many books there are supposed to be, so I guess we'll just see as they come out. Anyway, this is the actual end of this video, but I'll see you in the next one.